Have you ever wondered what would make someone commit an act of terror that would shock the world? It's a question that lingers as we delve into the reasons behind the attacks on September 11th. To fully grasp this, we need to step back in time. Let's dive into the timeline of that fateful day to understand better. The day started like any other Tuesday in September 2001. Just as New York City was stirring to life, 4 commercial airplanes were commandeered by 19 hijackers. American Airlines Flight 11, a Boeing 767, was the first to be hijacked, departing from Boston and heading towards Los Angeles. At 8:46 a.m., instead of reaching its intended destination, it crashed into the North Tower of the World Trade Center, leaving a gaping, burning hole. Simultaneously, United Airlines Flight 175, another Boston to Los Angeles flight, was also seized, and at 9:03 a.m., it too was driven into the South Tower of the World Trade Center. The horrifying spectacle of the second crash was broadcast live on television as millions watched, stunned and horrified. Meanwhile, American Airlines Flight 77, scheduled from Washington, D.C. to Los Angeles, was hijacked next. It veered off its flight path, and at 9:37 a.m., it slammed into the Pentagon in Arlington, Virginia. The impact caused a massive fire and partial collapse of the building's western side. The fourth plane, United Airlines Flight 93, was a little different. Passengers on board, alerted via calls to their loved ones, learned of the fate of the other hijacked planes. They decided to fight back. Their bravery led to the plane crashing into a field in Pennsylvania at 10:03 a.m., far from its intended target, believed to be either the White House or the Capitol. The world watched in horror as these events unfolded. Emergency services rushed to the scenes, as did everyday citizens, displaying acts of heroism in the face of such devastation. Yet, even as firefighters, police officers, and volunteers fought to save lives, the unimaginable happened. At 9:59 a.m., the South Tower of the World Trade Center collapsed, followed by the North Tower at 10:28 a.m. The iconic skyline of New York City was forever altered, and the surrounding streets were enveloped in a cloud of dust and debris. By 10:30 a.m., both World Trade Center towers had collapsed, marking a tragic moment in history. As the dust settled, the world wasn't the same anymore. The immediate aftermath of the attacks was a scene of unimaginable horror and heartbreak. The human toll was staggering, with nearly 3,000 lives lost and thousands more injured or forever marked by the trauma of that day. The response from the U.S. government was swift and decisive. President George W. Bush, in a speech to the nation, declared, "Our way of life, our very freedom, came under attack in a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts." He pledged to bring those responsible to justice and vowed that America would not be intimidated by acts of terror. The global reaction was one of shock and sympathy. From London to Tokyo, people held vigils, offered prayers, and stood in solidarity with the United States. But there was also fear, a palpable sense that the world had irrevocably changed, that the relative peace and security we had known was shattered. The impact on air travel was immediate and profound. In the days following the attacks, flights were grounded, airports were locked down, and security measures were ramped up. The freedom and ease of air travel, once a symbol of our interconnected world, was replaced with a sense of vulnerability and suspicion. And then began the War on Terror, a phrase that would come to define the geopolitical landscape of the early 21st century. It was a war not against a nation, but against an elusive, nebulous enemy. It was a war that would take us to the rugged mountains of Afghanistan, the deserts of Iraq, and the hidden corners of the world where terror lurked. In the end, the aftermath of 9/11 was not just about the physical destruction and the human loss. It was about the seismic shift in our worldview, the erosion of our sense of safety, and the sobering realization that the fight against terror would be a long and arduous one. The events of 9/11 sparked a global manhunt for the mastermind behind the attacks, Osama bin Laden. Finding the man responsible became a top priority for the U.S. government. The aftermath of the September 11th attacks sparked a relentless, decade-long manhunt for Osama bin Laden, the leader of Al-Qaeda and the mastermind behind the attacks. The U.S. intelligence community, armed with the world's most advanced technology and best-trained operatives, was mobilized towards one primary objective: to bring bin Laden to justice. The hunt was far from straightforward. The formation of special task forces, the countless leads that turned out to be false, and the elusive nature of bin Laden made the pursuit akin to finding a needle in a haystack. Yet the U.S. remained undeterred, driven by a commitment to justice and a resolve to prevent future acts of terrorism. As years turned into a decade, the trail led to a compound in Abbottabad, Pakistan. The intelligence was meticulously verified, plans were drawn up, and on a late evening in May 2011, a team of U.S. Navy SEALs embarked on a covert operation dubbed Operation Neptune Spear. The world held its breath as the operation unfolded. The SEALs infiltrated the compound, and in the ensuing operation, Osama bin Laden was killed. The decade-long hunt had finally come to an end. The mastermind behind the attacks that had killed nearly 3,000 innocent people was no more. In May 2011, nearly a decade after the attacks, Osama bin Laden was killed in a covert operation. The echoes of 9/11 still resound today. The ripple effect of that fateful day continues to shape our world, long after the dust from the fallen towers has settled. The first responders, those brave individuals who rushed into the chaos and devastation, carry with them the physical and emotional scars of their heroic efforts. Many grapple with ongoing health issues, a painful daily reminder of their sacrifice. In the broader sphere, global terrorism has evolved, but not disappeared. The face of terror may have changed, but its shadow still looms, prompting us to remain ever vigilant. But it's not just about the threats we face. The post-9/11 world has seen an overhaul in national security measures. The way we travel, the way we communicate, the way we perceive safety, all have been profoundly altered. Yet, amidst this change, there is hope. In the face of adversity, we have seen unity and resilience. We've witnessed the power of the human spirit to overcome, to rebuild, to remember, and to forge ahead. The events of 9/11 forever changed the world, reminding us of the importance of unity, resilience, and the enduring human spirit.